From the Center for Agricultural Profitability at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, this is Nebraska Farmcast. I'm Ryan Evans. 2025 has been designated the International Year of Cooperatives by the United Nations, recognizing the vital role that cooperatives play in building stronger economies and communities around the world. Here in Nebraska, cooperatives have long been a cornerstone of rural development, supporting local businesses, agriculture, and essential services. The Nebraska Cooperative Development Center at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln has been at the forefront of fostering cooperative businesses across the state for more than 2 decades. And today, I am glad to be joined again by Cindy Houlden, Cooperative Development Specialist with the Nebraska Cooperative Development Center, to talk about the significance of the International Year of Cooperatives and how Nebraska's cooperative movement fits into this global recognition, as well as what opportunities exist for communities and businesses who are looking to explore these models. Cindy, thanks for joining me again.
Thanks for joining you, Ryan, on this wonderfully warm day.
That's right.
Yes, that is sarcasm.
Yeah, -7 as we sit here recording. Relief is on the way, but
exactly.
We've got a lot to look forward to this year as we sit here in February. As I mentioned, the UN has declared 2025 the International Year of Cooperatives, as you've written about in a new article that's on our center's website at cap.unl.edu. So what does that recognition mean for cooperatives globally and here in Nebraska?
Well, the objectives of the UN General Assembly's resolution was to encourage governments to create an enabling environment for cooperatives. Cooperatives need to promote public awareness, developing new leaders, and leveraging cooperation. So it's two-pronged. And, the government as well as the cooperatives themselves need to promote this. Institutions and development agencies promote cooperatives through education, strengthening capabilities, and facilitating international cooperation. That's where we come in at NCDC. We're an institution. We work with groups in Nebraska, but we also work nationally and internationally within the cooperative ecosystem. And so, our role is to promote cooperatives. And then we want the public to understand what the cooperative identity is and to support our initiatives and then to participate within the cooperative world. It's global. We talk a lot that cooperatives have been around ever since cavemen decided to hunt and gather and work together towards bettering their community. And this year just recognizes how collaboration and working together builds not just a better Nebraska, U.S., but global economy.
And your article highlights some impressive numbers that NCDC has worked on over 300 projects in 157 communities to help establish 50 cooperative businesses. And are there just some impactful cooperative success stories in Nebraska here that stick out in your mind from the course of your work with NCDC over the years?
There are. We're known a lot for our grocery store work, which, Lynch, Emerson, Hayes Springs, Elwood, Stapleton, these stories within our Nebraska collaboration and within some of the work we've done, they've really made impacts in their communities. These have helped alleviate food deserts. They've built wealth in communities. They've created jobs. It's an impact of a business, but it's not just a business in a community. It's a business that is owned and supported by the community. And even stores or communities we've worked with that haven't formed an actual cooperative business, through our conversations within the communities, we help them become more collaborative. The grocery store may be owned by a couple, but the community understands their responsibility to support the business and collaborate as a community for the success of their downtown. We see grocery stores forming in communities through our cooperative efforts. And then the next thing we see is there's a coffee shop, or there is in Stapleton, it's a ceramics shop where you can go in and paint ceramics and have a glass of wine. We see things sprout up in communities because communities are learning to work together to build their own wealth and their own ecosystem around their local economy, which is exciting to see as an economist, because you want the ecosystem to build itself from the ground up. And you're seeing people realize what they can accomplish by working together.
And it's, again, an exciting year with this declaration from the United Nations General Assembly, the International Year of Cooperatives. But if people aren't familiar with the cooperative model, what are the biggest advantages that can offer compared to other business structures, especially when you're talking about rural communities?
Cooperatives exist solely to meet their members' needs. So they're member owners. So, whether it's a grocery store in Stapleton, Nebraska, or a home care worker cooperative in Arapahoe, Nebraska, or a child care group in Norfolk, Nebraska, they exist to meet the need of the group that's come together to form them. And they serve their members, and their focus isn't just bringing a return on investment. Now they have to be profitable, they have to make money, and we want these cooperatives to build wealth within their communities. But that's not their sole focus. It's about building a community around a common need or cause. Cooperatives do have access to some special treatments under U.S. tax codes, which do provide them some advantages not typically available to investor-owned cooperatives. We call it the subchapter sub T, not an accountant, but it does give them an advantage over an LLC model. And because cooperatives are owned and operated by their local members, they keep all their resources within their community, and they're guided by the values of those members. So it's not Cindy Houlden going in and saying, you should operate your business like this. It's the group of community leaders in that community creating a business that represents them and their values. Decisions are made democratically, or the word we use more frequently, through a method called sociocracy. Each member has an equal say in how the cooperative moves forward. And there's a lot of conversations that occur, and conflict. And I know we all are conflict avoiders, but conflict can create some great conversations about what should we look like? What should we have? What kind of a world do we want to leave for our children? And these cooperatives create those conversations in a positive way. I find myself, I kind of have a bit of a strong personality, and I like to think I'm right all the time. But when you work within a cooperative conversation, sometimes you have to step back and pull your values back and say, what's best for the group, not what's best for me, what's best for all of us. And that's what we mean by sociocracy. Cooperatives also return all their profits to the member owners, not to some corporate parent that may be located in even another country. We saw that a lot with the nursing home crisis that Nebraska is currently in. Nursing homes were owned by corporate parents that weren't in Nebraska anymore. And so all the profits from those businesses were taken out of those rural communities where the home care cooperative we're forming in Arapahoe. All those profits will stay with the member owners in Arapahoe, Nebraska, and be reinvested into their community. They contribute to the economic stability by creating businesses and jobs. They go hand in hand in businesses and jobs that are, again, rooted in the community's values. And it's real ownership. We talk about a lot with empowerment and how we want to have people to control their own destiny, empower themselves, be entrepreneurial. A cooperative is the perfect model for that. It's my business. I'm in charge of its success. But it's not just me, it's me, you, and a dozen of our friends working towards a common goal. Yeah. And that's what I love about the world, in case you can't tell.
Great. Yeah, your enthusiasm is infectious. That's great. And we'll get to how people can get in touch with you and harness that for themselves. But before we do that, I wanted to ask if looking into your crystal ball, is there anything that you see in Nebraska's cooperative movement evolving or emerging trends or opportunities that communities should be aware of?
We're excited with our work within the home care worker cooperative movement. Arapahoe, Nebraska is where we've focused most of our efforts. They're in the process of formal incorporation and then growth. They've already got their marketing plan of how are we going to bring on more member owners? How are we going to bring on more clients? How are we going to expand beyond Arapahoe? So they're already thinking into their future, which helps us think into their future. But we also can take their model and transfer it into another community where people are thinking of, I want to work in home care, but I don't want to work for a corporate. I want to kind of follow my values. Well, this is how you can do it, is you can create your own entity that reflects who you are and how you want to operate. We're working with a group of grocery stores across the state, thanks to a partnership with the Center for Rural Affairs, creating a conversation between them on how do they work together better? How can they leverage each other's knowledge and expertise to overcome some of the challenges we're seeing in rural grocery stores, such as supply chain or training or marketing? And so that's exciting to have that conversation. There is a principle within the cooperative movement, cooperatives cooperating, and that's a really great example of them. And the awesome thing about the cooperative world is you don't have to be a cooperative to participate. You can be an LLC and join the conversation. You're welcome, because we just want the world to be a better world for everyone and to meet our own economic and our community's economic needs.
That's awesome. And for listeners who are tuning in, if they're curious about starting or joining a cooperative, whether that's, as you've been talking about, home care cooperative, child care cooperative, perhaps grocery cooperative, what have you, and getting some help navigating that sociocracy, as you've described it, what resources does the Nebraska Cooperative Development Center have to offer them in guiding them through the process?
Most of our resources are available on our website, ncdc.unl.edu, but we also can connect them with experts all over the country and even within other countries, which is nice. Our connections become their connections. And, for example, in childcare, we brought in an expert from California who's literally written a book about it. And Kim met with the community, talked through what she's done, was available to them. We did the same thing in home care. We brought in experts from Washington State who had formed 5 home care worker co-ops, and they talked about, this is what we did. We do the same thing with groups. We go in and talk about how we've done work with grocery stores, how we've managed to navigate this conversation. So that's a lot of what we bring. And I use the word conversation quite a bit, because a lot of this is conversations. What do you want? What do you need? How can we help you? Who should be at the table? It's because we find that just by having conversations, you can move forward a lot quicker and with a lot more success when everybody's a part of the conversation.
Great. Well, that's Cindy Houlden, a Cooperative Development Specialist with the Nebraska Cooperative Development Center at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. And she has written about the UN Declaration of the International Year of the Cooperatives. And you can find that article on our website for the Center for Ag Profitability at cap.unl.edu in the notes to this podcast. And then, as Cindy mentioned, be sure you check out the Nebraska Cooperative Development Center on the web as well at ncdc.unl.edu. Cindy, thanks for your time, and we look forward to hearing more from you here throughout this year, the International Year of the Cooperatives.
We do. We really look forward to sharing more about our story.
All right. Thanks. Take care.
Thanks. Stay warm.
Nebraska Farmcast is a production of the Center for Agricultural Profitability at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. For the latest research-based information and education resources to manage your farm or ranch operation, visit our website at cap.unl.edu. That's cap.unl.edu.